Good afternoon, grade 4s, and welcome to our natural science lesson. We are in week 7. My name is Mrs. de Klerk, and I will be your teacher today and for the rest of the week. Hey guys, I quickly want to recap on what we did in yesterday's lesson. You still remember who this one is, right? You were introduced to Mrs. B. Fig. And just now I'm going to test to see if you remember what Mrs. B. Fig stands for. We did an activity on the 7 life processes. We looked at things that seem to be non-living, but they are not. They are actually living. We looked at the meaning of dormant state. You guys still remember, right? That means like kind of in a sleeping state. We looked at the meaning of germinate. And we looked at the conditions of a seed to germinate. Now, let's quickly recap because this is an important part. Here is Mrs. B. Fig. So quickly tell me, type in your chat box what M Mrs. stands for. I already gave the answer of that one. Good, Naledi. What does the R stand for? Remember, these are the 7 life processes. What does the R stand for? Who can remember? The first one was movement. The second one, good, reproduction. Well done. The third one, the S, good, your answers are coming through now. The S, what does the S stand for? Good job, for sensing. Okay, the B for Mrs. B. What does the B stand for? Do you need a clue on that one? If you listen carefully. Ah, there it's coming. What am I doing? Good, you guys. Breathing. The S, Mrs. B. Fig, what does the F stand for? Feeding. Feeding, good. Good job. What does the E stand for? The E in the 7 life processes. Excrete. Yes, I think you also tried to type excreting. Yes, you are right. Excrete. Remember, that means to get rid of waste products from our bodies. Okay, the last one, the G. What does the G stand for? Good, some of you are getting really fast with the top. Oh, I remember, this is the smart class. The smarties I'm naming you now. You guys are fast, well done. The last one is growing or growth. Good job. So I think you guys will remember this one quite well if it comes up in the test. Let's quickly just have a little peek at what we are going to do today. There's our little investigate. We'll be looking at reviving living things that seem to be non-living, like germinating a seed. Now remember, yesterday we spoke about what germination means, but today we are going to look at it a little bit more closely and a little bit more in detail. We're also going to look at how to get yeast to grow. And we are going to have a look at non-living things. Guys, sorry, let me just remind you, please switch off your videos so that we don't distract each other. And in your chat box, I want you to keep the chat relevant to what we are doing. I see that you are doing that, so I'm very proud of you. You're a really good class. Okay, and then we are going to have a look at things that can change from living to non-living. I'm just going to take this off quickly. Let's look at the process of germination. Okay, here we have a little plant. Okay. When a seed is sown into moist soil, it begins to grow. So here is the seed. This is the first step. And this process is called germination. Do you remember what we said? That is when a seed starts to grow. Okay. Now, the first thing that happens is the seed coat will split. And this happens in this step here. And from here, a tiny root grows downwards. Here it's just starting to grow. Do you see where I'm pointing the laser? This part will grow downwards. And then a shoot will start growing upwards. So here's the shoot. It's still under the ground. And this part will then grow downwards. And then this produces a seedling of a plant. And here you have your seedling. And this ultimately grows into a new plant. And here you have a picture of a plant as well. Okay, after some time, that plant will bear flowers. Now, again, I chose a sunflower for today because I don't know if you've noticed throughout the week, but sunflowers are my favorite flowers. So I like to refer back to them. They're so beautiful, and I like the way that they actually follow the sun. So when I want to explain something, I usually use them. Okay, now the flower will produce seeds. Here you'll see there are a lot of seeds in this flower. Those seeds can germinate when sown in moist soil under suitable conditions to produce new plants. Remember yesterday we said that a seed can be dormant until the right conditions are met. And under the right conditions, then it will start to germinate. Can you tell me what those conditions are? In the chat box quickly. Yes, germination does happen underground, absolutely. We'll get to the yeast part. Those guys who are asking questions about what is yeast, we'll get to that. Okay, it's something your mom uses in the kitchen. Nokwanda, well done that you got full marks on this. Wow, okay. Aslam, you want me to speak louder? Can you hear me? Right. Let's look at the next step. By natural or man-made processes, these seeds are sown into the ground again, and that is how new plants are born. Okay, so natural processes, grows, and these seeds are blown all over, and they fall in the ground somewhere, and they meet all the conditions, moist soil and sunlight and water and air, then it will start to germinate. Okay, that is how new plants are born. Or if man-made process, that with that I mean if you actually go buy the seeds and you plant them in the ground. Okay, let's see the chat box. Just see what you guys are saying. Oh, thank you guys. Okay, you're fine. Okay, now we are going to look at this activity, and this will also be your homework. I know that some of you have done this, but it is such a great activity and such a fun activity. I would love for you to do it again if you have some seeds at home and if you have all the materials. And later on, obviously, we can't speak about it tomorrow because nothing's going to happen by tomorrow, but in a couple of days or a week, something will happen. Okay. So let's see. If we look at this activity, this will teach you how a seed is germinated. So the materials you'll need, this is a very easy one. I think a lot of you have done it before. We need some bean seeds. We need cotton wool, and then a plastic lid that you can take from any jar that you don't use in the kitchen anymore, like a peanut butter jar or a mayonnaise jar would be fine. Okay, the instructions. You need to place the 2 layers of cotton wool in this lid, and then place your seeds in between the 2 pieces of cotton wool, the 2 layers, and then drizzle water over the seeds. Okay, you just need to drizzle the water because if you put too much water, you will drown the seed and it won't germinate, okay? So you must make sure that your cotton wool is wet enough, but not too wet, all right? There should be no water running over the side of your lid. Your seed will drown if you do that and it won't germinate. Then when you've drizzled the water over the cotton, then you place your seed in a warm place. Remember when we spoke about warmth yesterday? And near a window, because it needs to get sunlight and it needs to get heat. Okay, now every time or every day that you feel that that cotton wool is almost dry, you need to water them again. But like I said, just sprinkle it, like drizzle water over the seeds. Be very careful not to drown it. All right. So this is the activity that you will do to germinate a seed. Okay. The next one, if you guys want, this is from the Thunderbolt book. You can take a screenshot or you can take a photo, because this is also a very fun activity you can do at home. And I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen to the yeast because I want you to go try for yourself. If you don't know what yeast is, I promise you, your mom or your dad will know. And a lot of people have yeast in the kitchen. And later on in the presentation, I will show you a picture and maybe you'll recognize it, okay? So to get yeast to grow, we need the following materials. A packet of dry yeast. It's something you will be able to buy at the moment in the shops, okay? So if you don't have it at home, and mom or dad, it's by the cooking materials in the shop. So if mom and dad goes to the shop, ask them just to buy a small packet of dry yeast for you, then you can try this, okay? You need some sugar. I'm pretty sure all of you have sugar at home. Warm water. Be careful that you don't use boiling water, okay? Don't you want you guys to burn yourselves? So just make sure your water is warm, and then an empty yogurt tub. So those are the materials that you'll need. And what you need to do is place a teaspoon of sugar and then a teaspoon of the dry yeast into the yogurt tub and mix it with your spoon. As soon as you've done that, you are going to add 3 teaspoons of warm water. Like I said, remember, don't use boiling water. I don't want you to burn, okay? Then stir your sugar and your yeast mixture in the warm water to make sure it is well mixed, and then watch to see what will happen. So that's why I said I'm not going to tell you now, but I will ask you tomorrow or by the end of the week if you tried this, and then you can tell us what happened. Okay. Safety warning here at the bottom. Do not use boiling water. It might burn you. You only need to use lukewarm water. Okay. We're going to see what's going on in the chat box before we move on. Yes. Good, Lena. So you guys will have yeast in the house. Okay. Even if you've tried it, go do it again because it's not the same every time. Okay. Right, let's continue. Today we are also going to have a look at non-living things. Non-living things are different from living things because they do not perform all of the 7 life processes. Remember, we said for something to be classified as living, it needs to be able to do all 7, not only 6, not 5. If it does less than 7 of those life processes, then it is a non-living thing. Okay. Now let's take a look at this car. And then what do you guys say? Is a car living or is it non-living? Quickly type in your chat box. What do you say? Is it living or is it non-living? Then we will have a closer look. Is the car living? Just type in living or type in non-living, okay? Naledi says living, Reese says non-living. Mkwanda says non-living. Jean-Paul, living. We're going to look at each of the 7 processes to see. Non-living. Okay, a lot of you are saying non-living, but some of you are saying it is living. Let's quickly see. Here are our instructions. Let's look which of the 7 life processes the car carries out. This activity is also in the Thunderbolt book. Remember, if it is not an egg or a seed, if there is even one life process that something cannot do, then it is not living. Okay, so now we are going to place either a tick or an X to answer the following questions. Right, can a car move? This is an easy one. Quickly type in your text box, yes or no. Can a car move? Basically, everyone says yes. And you guys are absolutely right, it can move. The next one, in Mrs. F, in her story. Reproduce? Yes or no? Okay, so that already tells us if it's a living or a non-living thing. Okay. And unanimously, you guys are saying no. Does sensing take place? Now, this one you have to think carefully because it might be a trick question. Does sensing take place? Now, Kwanda, you are one of the fewer ones saying yes. I would love to know why you are saying that because I agree with you. Most of you are saying no. Now, this is again one of those when it comes to sensing that I would accept a yes or a no answer depending on your motivation. If you can tell me why you say no, or if you can tell me why you say yes, I will accept it as the correct answer. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Some people will say no, no sensing takes place, but sometimes, yeah, Dylan, you are right. I'm going to tell you why now. Sometimes when you go outside, especially in the morning, and your mom needs to take you to school and the car doesn't start, you can reason that sensing takes place there because it reacts to something in the atmosphere. It reacts to maybe it's very cold. Okay, so that's why I'm saying sensing, you can say yes or no as long as you motivate your answer. So if you do it in the test, you have to say why you say that, okay? Oopsie. Feeding. Now you saw my answer, no. Feeding. Does feeding take place? Does it eat something? Reese says no. This is also, again, an interesting question. Dylan says no. John Paul, yes. Carla, yes, ma'am. A lot of you are saying no, and a lot of you are saying yes. Again, I will accept both if you tell me why. Some of you will say, no, feeding takes place because the car doesn't eat food. Good, Nakwanda, very good. But we can also reason if we say feeding does take place because the fuel in the car, the diesel in the car feeds the engine to start, then we can use it as a yes, okay? It drinks oil. Yes, you're basically right. It drinks oil, it drinks, well, actually petrol. The food will be its petrol or its diesel. Breathing. This is also a tricky question. Does breathing take place? Does the car breathe? I see some of you are saying yes. The rest of you, what did you think? Some are saying no. We are busy with the breathing part. Okay, so I want you to answer yes or no for the breathing part. Oh, I'm getting a lot of differing answers again. I'm saying yes because the engine uses air to sustain combustion. Now, when you're a little bit older and you do technology and so on, you're going to learn all about combustion. But the engine uses air. So we can say that as, yes, it is breathing. But again, if you guys answered no and you give me a motivation, it is not wrong. Okay, you can also say no because it doesn't breathe the way we do. But if you see it in this way, that it uses air to sustain combustion, then you can say, yes, it does breathe. Excreting. Does excreting take place? Yes or no? Does it get rid of waste products inside its body or inside its engine? A lot of differing answers again. Some are saying yes and some are saying no. I like that because it tells me that you guys are thinking. Again, no correct answer, no wrong answer on this one, okay? It's all to do with the motivation. I said yes. I said yes because there are exhaust fumes and there are certain processes that take place. So petrol, diesel goes in and exhaust fumes comes out. So it is excreting waste. You can also answer no on that question. Okay. Then the last one here, can a car grow? Yes or no? This is an easy one and all of you should answer the same, yeah. Good. That was too easy. Unless, again, you are watching a cartoon story of a mommy car and a baby car. But no, a car can definitely not grow and have, grow up from a baby to an old man. Okay. Good. Remember, you guys, it's important always, if it's a question like this type of thing, to be able to motivate your answer. You have to be able to tell me why you say yes or why you say no. So you have to understand your own answer, okay? Let's look at the question here. How many life processes does a car have? Let's quickly count. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Some of you will have less if you answered no on some of those questions. Okay. So it does 4 of the life processes. So if it only does 4, is it then a living thing or is it a non-living thing? Quickly type your answer. Is it living or is it non-living? So that I can see if you understand this. It has 4 out of the 7 life processes, more than half. Does that make it a living thing or is it a non-living thing? Excellent, Smarty class. All of you are right. Let me just move this box. All of you are right. 4 out of 7, so it is non-living. Even if it had 6, it would still have been non-living. Remember, non-living things cannot carry out all the 7 life processes. And now we're going to talk about things changing from living to non-living. Living things can become non-living when they die. Example here, what is this? It's a wooden desk, right? Or a table. Where did the wood come from? At the moment, it can't move, it can't breathe, nothing is being excreted. So if you go look at the 7 life processes, this table would be classified as a non-living thing. But where did it come from? Quickly type in the chat box for me. Yes, it was living when it was a tree. You are absolutely right, 100%. It came from something that was living before. Okay, so something that was living before can turn into a non-living thing. Okay, you guys know that we can group almost everything in the world into two groups, into living groups and into non-living groups. If something cannot carry out all 7 of the life processes, then we classify it as non-living. But some things were just never living, like water. It didn't come from something that was living. Okay, some things were never living, like water and like the car we just looked at. It was never living. But other things can be non-living now, but they were living before, like wood, like fossils, or like oil. Now we are going to do this activity quickly. You guys are going to help me. We are going to categorize the following according to living, once lived, can be revived, and never lived. Okay, so if we look at it, if it is living, it means it can do all of those 7 life processes. If it once lived, then it means it is something that is dead, basically, but it was alive before, it lived before. If we look at something that can be revived, remember we spoke about this yesterday. It is something that can start, or that will be alive if it's under the right conditions. Okay. And then something that has never lived, right? So let's see, let me just see what you guys are saying here. Okay, guys, please remember that you need to keep your videos off. You will be kicked out and you will not be able to come back into this session. Remember for next time, okay? I don't want you to miss out on anything. Okay, let's look at the traffic light. I quickly want you to type in your chat box. Is it living, once lived, can be revived, or never lived? Never, okay? I'm only getting one answer here. Quickly, I want you guys to quickly type for me. Good. Let's see. There we go. A traffic light never lived. Okay. Now we are going to look at the dog. This is a very easy one. Quickly tell me, where does it go? Yes, good, you guys. We got a dog is a living thing, and if someone had to ask you why, because all 7 of the life processes take place. Let's look at this. The skull. I don't even know what is exactly, but is it a once lived thing? Can it be revived? Has it never lived? Or is it living at the moment? It's what you are saying in your chat box. Once lived. I think all of you agree on that one, right? Once lived, of course, because it was something that lived before, but it died. And then the obvious last answer, eggs. Tell me quickly, because this one was too easy, because it's the only open box left, I'm going to ask you another question. What does an egg need to be revived? One thing, remember, if you think about the picture of the dove in the nest, what does it need to be revived? What will revive it? Nokwanda, Lile, Zoe, Mfunwa. You guys, Smarty class. I wish I could email Smarties to all of you. You are absolutely right. It needs warmth. There we go. Can be revived. I'm going to move on to the next one. And here, remember, I told you guys, someone asked me what is yeast. Here is an example. Here's a little pack of yeast. Okay. Mom will use it in baking, most probably, if she bakes, or your dad. So this is what you can buy to go try out that other experiment. And I want you to try it out because I want you to come and tell me what happened, okay? Anyway, this is yeast. If you remember carefully what we spoke about earlier, you'll know where to categorize it. A laptop, a dolphin, and a little friend of mine earlier, and this is what happened to it. Okay, so let's quickly see. Let's start with the yeast. Is the yeast a living thing? Is it once lived? Can it be revived, or has it never lived? The yeast. Think about this carefully. The yeast was like germinating the seed. Let's see quickly. Yeast can be revived. Okay, that's why I want you to go do this experiment, because I want you to see what's going to happen. And tomorrow we are just going to look at this one again. Okay. A laptop. What do you guys say? Tell me where the laptop goes. Quickly type into your box for me. Good. Most of you have got this one. It never lived. All right. The dolphin, the easy one. Dolphin. Non-living. I hope that was for the previous one. Yes. You guys. Is living, because all 7 of the life processes take place. And then our little friend here is now a dead fly. Is where? It's not living anymore, I can promise you that. Once lived. Okay. That was an easy little exercise for you guys. The bug, yes, once lived. Most bugs in my house, I can say that. If there's a bug, it's a once lived one, because it will not be a living one after I finish with it. Okay, now we are quickly going to read a comprehension test, but this comprehension test has to do with everything that we have been learning about. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we will answer some questions about it. Okay. Now, this is a little story, but it is not a true story. It's just a story. Okay, it's about the Strelitzias. Do you guys know what a Strelitzia is? I'll just show you a picture. You see here? This is a Strelitzia. Okay, but a little bit of a story of where they came from. The Strelitzias. When the world was made, the Strelitzia birds were among the finest. Their bright orange feathers and dark purple wings decorated the sky, and all creation admired their beauty. They would fly for hours high in the sky and only came down to feed at the riverbed and to tell the other animals of the wonderful things they had seen. Their nests were in the highest cliffs, and they almost never sat in trees or walked on the ground among the other animals. However, as time went by, the Strelitzia birds became more and more proud and arrogant. They started to look down on the other animals and started teasing them endlessly, telling the tall giraffe that her neck could never dream of the cool breezes they have felt, or laughing at the tortoise who had to always stagger through the dust over rocks and sand. They laughed at the crocodile who had to stay in the water, and at the monkeys for being stuck in trees all their lives. One day, the Maker came to visit the animals, And instead of the beautiful, joyous creation, they were only sadness and tears. One by one, the animals told of the Strelitzia birds teasing and taunting till the maker became very angry at these proud birds. The maker snatched them one by one from the sky and stuck each one's strong, slender legs deep into the soil. Their graceful long toes became roots, and their feathers and wings turned to dull green leaves. Only their crowning feathers of orange and purple remained as a reminder of their beauty. If you find a Strelitzia flower today, look carefully and you will see how they are always reaching for the sky, trying to free their feet from the soil and fly once more. Well, there you go. Now you all know where the Strelitzia came from. Let's quickly ask some questions about this. It's your turn. Quickly name 5 non-living things mentioned in the story. I'm quickly going to go back for you. You can scan the story. See if you can find 5 things that are non-living. You can just scan with your eye. You don't need to read every word. Go to the next page. See if you can find something there. Write it in the chat box, okay? Remember, we are looking for non-living things. River, sky, water, cliffs, or is a tortoise a non-living thing? Or quickly see. Wind, cliffs, rocks, soil, dirt, dust, a breeze, and a riverbed. Those are all non-living things. So if you jotted down some of them, well done to you. Okay. Our next question. Name all the things from the story that use oxygen. Name all the things from the story that use oxygen. I'm going to go back for you. Scan it again and then find things for me that uses oxygen. If you see something, okay, even if you only mention one. Giraffe, bird, crocodile, bird. Good, smarty class. Maker, animals, bird. All of you are absolutely right. Turtle, yes. Perfect. Let me carry on here. Strelitzia, you guys forgot that one. Giraffe, tortoise, crocodile, monkey, plant. Okay, our next question. Which life process in living things uses oxygen? Okay, now to answer this question, you are going to have to look at all those 7 life processes and under which one does oxygen fall? Think back on the 7 life processes. Under which one does oxygen fall? Is it moving? Is it excreting? There we go. Yeah, I'm seeing the answers coming through. There you go. You have it. Absolutely right. It falls under breathing. Now I want you to give an example from the story of moving. I want a verb that explains moving to us. Want me to go back quickly? The story, I will. Find a word or more than one word that refers to the verb moving. I'm going to open the other slide as well quickly. You can just scan over it. Flying, great. Glide, stagger, fly, walk, snatch, and stick. Can you remember something that had to do with sensing? Something that had to do with sensing. I'm going to give you the answer to this one because our time is running out. Okay. Joyous, sadness, and tears. That related to feeding. What you guys have to say? Oh, I already gave you the answer there. Oh no. Food. There was roots they ate and leaves, a waterhole, trees. Okay. In the story related to growth. Oh, do you guys know? I'm going to give you a sneak peek. Dull gray leaves. Okay. Little birds had nests high up on the cliffs. Why do you think birds like them like to build their nests high up on the cliffs? Why would the nest be high up? You guys know? Think what will happen if the birds were down here? What would the other animals do to it? They wanted to be high up so that they don't get hurt. And how can they get hurt? If another animal does what to them? Yes, no one takes the eggs. Good. That's a good answer. Okay. To protect the eggs and the young. Okay. So we associate with the eggs in the nest. You guys know this one. Reproduction. Well done, you guys. Let's recap what we did today, and we're at the end of our lesson. We group things on Earth as living or as non-living. 7 life processes that all living things carry out. Non-living things cannot carry out all 7 processes. Things can die. Some things like seeds or eggs seem to be non-living, but they can revive again. I think you know this by now. Okay? Here's your homework. You can take a screenshot or you can quickly take a photo. I just want you to do this, and later on we will answer questions about it, okay? Tomorrow we are going to look at the basic structure of plants, the roots, the stems, the leaves, the flowers, and the seeds. Thank you guys for joining us today, and I hope to see all of you back here tomorrow. You're a great class, Smarty class. Bye-bye.